Hello guys and welcome to the channel. In this one we are going to see how we can create a simple modal or a pop-up using CSS and JavaScript. So basically this is what we have, and I'm just going to click the pop-up, and you can easily just close the pop-up by clicking on anywhere on the screen or clicking on the X icon. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. Of course, there is the animation too where the pop-up slides down. All right, so let's get started. So we have this blank HTML with connected styles and JavaScript file. So let's get started. So first off, we are going to add a header tag. So I'm just going to come here and let's just do header. That is going to have a h1, and that h1 will put a span inside, and let's just do let's, and then the remaining part of the h1 is going to say create a modal. Okay, and then let's just put a paragraph under it and say click button below. All right, so next we're going to create another section below here, and inside that section let's just do a div with a class of container, because we're going to create the button inside. So permit me to create a form and permit me to add a button, and that button is going to have an ID. So I'll say button hash. Where's my hash? Okay, yeah, button hash btn, and the button will say test. Okay, I think it's all capital letter, test pop-up. Okay, or test modal, whichever one you want. And then below the section is where we'll then create our modal. So I'll just create a div with a class of modal, and another div with a class of modal hyphen content. Okay, that's what this content is, where we're going to put the content of our modal. And so basically inside of our modal we simply just have a h1 that says hello world. So let's do h1 and hello world, and then we have a horizontal rule, and then we then have a paragraph, and inside the paragraph we just have some dummy text. So I'm just going to say Lorem 50. Okay, so I think that's it for, okay, we have a close button. Okay, that close button is going to be the first thing. So I'll come here and I'll create a span tag with a class of close, and it's going to have this and times, so the HTML entity times, and that's it basically. So we're done. Let's go to our styles.css and let's add some styles. So CSS is the part that always, takes me time, but I really enjoy it. Okay, so basically I have some variables and fonts and stuff like that. So just normal CSS skeleton. Okay, so I'm going to add some styles to the body. Basically, let me first open this guy. Let me just do something. So I'm going to open this index.html file in the browser with live server, so we can see what we are doing. Okay, all right, so this is what we have. Doesn't look great, but let's do some magic with CSS. So for the CSS, let's start by setting the display for the body itself to flex, and we're going to set the flex direction to column, and then we're going to align items to center. Also, we are going to justify content to center, so we're going to put everything in the center, and then we're going to give the body a background color, of, we're going to use a variable, so variable of light blue, and then let's save and see what we have. Okay, voila. Let's give the body a height of 100% of the viewport height. Okay, so let's come down. I'm going to add a stars for all of the paragraph, and I'm just going to give it a font size of 1.6 rem and a line height of 1.5, and then we're going to then target the header. So I would say header, which is the header selector itself. So let's do text align and set it to center, and I'm going to give it a color of white, and let's do some padding. Maybe I should save first. Okay, so let me do some padding on the bottom, and I'm going to do 3 rem and save. So you see some space there. Then let's target the h1. So I'll come down here, I'll say header, sorry, and then I'll say h1. Basically I'll just set a font size of 3.5 rem, and let's do a font weight of 300, and then line height set to 1. And remember we have a span, header span, so I'll say header and h1 and then span, which is going to represent, have I saved this guy? Okay, which is going to represent this first word, let's. And then basically I'll just change the font weight to 700. That's all. So it will make this one bolder. Okay, and then I'm going to get the section. Let me just make sure I am doing what I want to do. So section and container. Okay, that's fine. So I'll come here and I'll get the section and the container class, and let's set the display to flex and justify content, center, align items to center, and flex direction to column. Okay, so let's target the button. Okay, so first I'm just going to get the form and do some padding on the bottom. Ouch, that's padding bottom. Okay, I actually don't need this padding button, do I? I don't. I remember I was doing something else when I actually set that style. Okay, so anyway, let's just get the button. So I'm just going to say form button, because just one we have anyway. Let's remove the outline and the border. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say for the border I want a border of 1px and solid, and I want white, so hash fff and save. Okay, let's add some padding of 8px. Okay, let's add some border radius of 3px. Let's add border radius of 3px. Let's see some background color of transparent. Then the color of the text itself we are going to set to white. Okay, so it's already taking shape. font size, I'm going to get the font size and set it to maybe like 1.4 em, and that's better. And for the font weight, I'll just set it to 700, and I think that's enough. Okay, so I'm just going to I'm going to set a hover class for the button just for the sake of, so form button and hover. So the only thing I'll do is that I'll change the background color to my color secondary, which is this color here. So if we put it here, boom, it changes. Don't forget that you want to set a transition all and 0.3 seconds. All right, so smooth change. And here, don't forget cursor to pointer. Okay. All right, so now let's get the modal and style the modal. That's these guys here. So I'll say I'm kind of wondering why. Okay, anyway, I'll say modal, and it's a class, so dot modal, and let's just set the we're going to set the display to none. Okay, display and set it to none, but it doesn't make sense to set it to none yet. Sorry, ouch, I reduced that, so it doesn't make sense to set the display to none yet, so we're going to do that last. Then let's set the position to fixed, and well, from the left 0, and same from the top, so that's top. And then we want it to have a width of 100%, and same for the height. So height same, and we want to set the overflow to auto. Okay, importantly, let's give it a background color, and we're going to use the RGBA, and basically we're going to set a black, so 0 0 0, and the opacity is going to be 0.5. okay, so let me save that. Okay, so you see here that we have this color there, and then because we want it to be on top of everything when it shows, we're going to set a z index of 1. okay, so what we need to do next is we need to style the content inside of the modal. So dot modal hyphen content, and what do we want? We don't want 100% width, we want an 80% width, and we want to set a max width of, I'm going to use 60 rem. okay, let's do a background color, just gonna do hash EEE, so this gray color, not necessarily white, just gray. Let's set the margin to 15% top and bottom, and auto on the left and right, so that it's centered. Let's do a little bit of padding of 2 rem. okay, and then let's do a border of 1px solid and 777, and then let's do text align to center. Let's do animation, and ouch, the animation I'm going to create is named slide, and it's going to be ease, and 0 is going to occur in, I can just say 0.8 seconds. It's still okay. Okay, so I'll then come down here and create this animation called slide. So you know how we do that? We say at keyframes, and the name of the animation is slide, and then we'll say that we can just do from, and so you can also do 0% and 100%, both is going to work fine. Okay, So what I'm going to do is I'll just do a transform here. So I'll say transform, and I'll just use a translate property on the y-axis, and I'll just do minus 30 rem to take the modal out of the page. Okay, so maybe I'll just copy this, and here I'll paste it in and say I want it to bring it back to 0 at 100%. Okay, so let me save this. So this is what we have. So now what we need to do is we need to comment out, we need to uncomment the display none. So you see the modal doesn't show, but the button doesn't do anything yet because we've not added any JavaScript. So let's come to our JavaScript file here, right? And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add some variables. So let me just say variables, and first I'm going to say const, and I'm just going to say modal, and it's going to be equal to document dot query selector, and the query is the modal class. Okay, so instead of, I'll just add a comma here, and I'll just create the next variable. So the next variable is going to be the button. Okay, so I'll say btn, and I'll set it to be equal to document dot the button is actually an id. Okay, it's an id, so get elements by id. I should have just used a query, a class instead. Okay, but it's fine. And then I'll say the id is btn, and then I add another comma, and for the last one is a class, so I'll say close equals to document dot query selector, query selector, and that is the dot close, and then I'll then close it here. So that's it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add event listeners for the button, the modal, and the close button, right? So I'll just come here and I'll say btn dot add event listener. Let's do, so it's a click event, right? So click, and we're going to call a function. This function is going to be open modal. Okay, or I can just say open popup. So what I'm going to do, I'll duplicate this twice, and here I'll say close. So this is going to be close modal, and here also is going to be close modal. Then for this one, we are going to call an event listener for the close button, and this one is going to be for the modal itself, that's the parent container. So next we're going to create the function. So I would say, let me just say open modal, and I'm going to say something like function, and the function is going to be open modal, because it's a button, right? It's the button, so I'm going to use e, and the first thing I'll do is to prevent the default behavior, because when you click on a button inside the form, it will refresh the page. So you say e dot prevent default, but we can also do this with HTML. Okay, so but it's fine, just do it with JavaScript, all is still well. So what I'm going to do now is I'll say modal, I'll change the style of the modal. I'll say modal dot style dot display, and basically I'll set it to block. So I'm saying that when you click on the button, display the modal. So I'm just going to copy this guy here, and then I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna say close modal, and I'll paste in that. And then basically what I need to do is just to change some things here. So I'll just change this to close, and I don't actually need the E here because I'm not preventing anything with the close button. So I'm just going to change this to none. Okay, so when you close the modal, when you click on the, either you click on the modal or you click on the close button, what will happen is that this function will be called and to hide the modal. So ultimately we are done with the project. Okay, so this is the project here. Let me just refresh it and let me test pop up. So it doesn't work. All right, there's no problem. All we need to do is to okay, so before I even go to inspect, I've already found the problem here. So first of all, here we have command value instead of query selector. So let me just do query and selector, and that should do it. Okay, so let me just make sure I don't have any other error anywhere. ID query selector, and I think it should work now. So if I click this, still not working. Oh, let me inspect and see if I have any error. So I was using my, okay, let me make this bolder. Okay, then in fact I think I'll just open this up. I'm sure it's just a small error, but I'm quite tired to start. Let me just check my console and see. So block is not defined. Okay, yeah, I see the problem. It's a small problem. I was supposed to put the block inside a what's it called, like so. Okay, and same for the none. So I actually started doing this tutorial and I was tired. Okay, that's probably why I'm having this issue. Okay, so let me click on test pop-up and boom, and apparently our animation is not working. So but that's for an issue with the styles. So I'm sorry, I'll just change this to 100%. So 0%, and I'm going to make this 100%. Okay, and let me just look at the slide is, and save that. Okay, it still doesn't work, or at least it doesn't work like this one. So I'm just going to, let me just look at this one more time to make sure. So it's slide and is transform translate y. Oh, this should be minus 30 rem. Okay, all right, so tired people make mistakes. Okay, so there's just one more thing I didn't do, and that is to style the close button. Okay, so there's no close button here. Should I do it? Okay, let me just do it. It shouldn't take time. So this is my style, and I'll just come down here and say dot close. But what that means is that I would add a class of let me see, where is the close button? Let me just make sure. So the close button is inside the modal content. So what that means is that I'll give my modal content a display. So I'll say display position, sorry, position of relative. Okay, and then for the close button itself, I would give it a position of absolute, and then I'll then define where I want it to be. So I'll say from the top I want it to be 5 pixels, so let me just do 5px, and from the right I want it to be 10px, so that's like 1 rem. Okay, and then I want it to have a color, and I'm just going to use one of the variables. So color primary, it should actually be like red or something, or depend anything you want actually. Then I'll give it a font size of maybe like 2.4 rem, just to make it a little bit bold or big, and I'll set the cursor to pointer. That's all. So you see where the guy here. So maybe on the right I would increase this to like maybe 2 rem and save, and yeah, so if I click on it, it closes. Bam, it comes down. I click on it, it closes. So there you go, there you have your modal, and everything works just perfect and fine. By the way, I should also let you know that you can do the same exact thing with CSS, just CSS. Okay, maybe I'll do a tutorial on how you can do that with CSS. All right, thank you so much for watching this tutorial. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe, and see you in another video.